Good afternoon. Welcome to Microbrew Gamers. I've been on a hiatus for a little while, but I'm back, and there's some recent gaming news I wanted to kind of go over and give my viewpoint. So, without further ado, let's dive in. On the first bit of agenda, one of my favorite game companies, Square Enix, is releasing two new Final Fantasy VII mobile games. One of them is an unnamed battle royale, which seems interesting, and the other one is Ever Crisis. It's a compilation of all game stories in the Final Fantasy universe thus far. So Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children, Before Crisis, Crisis Core, and Dirge of Cerberus, which is the one with Vincent, that's a standalone game. It was on PS2, I believe. And it's pretty cool, but I don't do mobile gaming, so I kind of wish they made a console version, like maybe for the Switch. But for those that do mobile gaming, this will be fun for you. There's also on Final Fantasy VII Remake news, they're releasing some DLC, some Yuffie DLC, her backstory, getting her as a character, and that's called Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade for the DLC. It's coming out in June 10th of this year, but it's only for PS5, so you'd have to upgrade to the PS5 version, have a PS5 to play it, which, for many of us, womp womp. Good luck getting it. However, Square did recently let everybody know that the Final Fantasy Remake Part 2 is progressing smoothly, which is awesome. I want to hear that. I want to hear more about that. Now, they did do a changeover in leadership, so Tetsuya Nomura as the director is stepping down, and they're getting Naoki Hamaguchi in to direct. Hopefully I said those names right. But that shouldn't affect it too much, because Tetsuya Nomura is still staying on to help with creative tasks, but he had too much on his plate, so he wanted to focus a little bit more on some of the stuff and do higher quality, so that's kind of the official reason. But hopefully there'll be more news in the future. Now, to switch gears, we're going to go over to some news with the previous Nintendo Direct, the most recent one. It was very polarizing, but overall I think as a standalone Nintendo Direct, I know we haven't had one in a long time, I think it was pretty good overall. I think the main part about it being so polarizing is that everybody had their hopes up for a ton of Zelda news for the upcoming, now past, Zelda 35th anniversary, which was on Sunday, February 21st. So that was the 35th anniversary, and we didn't hear a lot about Zelda stuff, so that was very polarizing. I'll get more into that in a minute, but there was a lot of good games that were advertised in that, and one that really caught my eye is Project Triangle Strategy. Now that's just a working title right now. It's supposed to come out sometime in 2022, but it looks fantastic. It looks like a combination of Octopath Traveler and Final Fantasy Tactics. Now in it, you basically have to make choices in the game that'll bolster one of your three convictions, and depending on what type of values you have, it really changes the progression of the story. So every decision you make will affect the outcome of the game going forward, which is really cool. And what's really neat is I downloaded a demo of it, and it has a multi-tiered areas in the battle system. So if you go in there, you could have a high ground, the low ground, everything in between, and that factors into how well you can hit somebody or not hit somebody. So location is critical in your strategy in this game. So it's pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to that. It looks fantastic, and it plays really well. It's challenging and a lot of fun. Now going back to the Nintendo Direct, I think what was the biggest issue was the fact that everybody had high hopes for all kinds of Zelda news, and we got Skyward Sword, which some people really enjoy. I'm looking forward to getting it again and playing it with the kids, but that really wasn't enough for a lot of people. And I admit I had high hopes for the Nintendo Direct to have more Zelda news, being they haven't had one Nintendo Direct in forever, and this is the 35th anniversary of Zelda, like their second biggest IP ever, just behind Mario, which is technically that year-long Mario 35th is still going on until March, so it may be why they're kind of holding off on Zelda news. But I thought at least if they didn't do something on Nintendo Direct, they would have done something on that Sunday or released some sort of extra news. But we are getting the Skyward Sword, which is cool, and the Joy-Cons are really neat. The Skyward Sword Joy-Cons, I really wish I kind of got a hold of, but obviously the scalpers got to them all first, and they're already up on eBay, for 2 and 3 times the price, unfortunately. But yeah, that's kind of what the scalping's been kind of the ongoing issue, trying to get a hold of anything from collectibles to PS5 to Xbox Series X. I'm sure we're all sick of them by now. But there's some other cool things that also in the Nintendo Direct that had a lot of has piqued my attention as well. I mean, you've got Splatoon 3 coming up. The first two were fantastic. There was a lot of fun. You got Monster Hunter Rise for the Monster Hunter fans. Super Mario Golf, which is, I always thought the old one was a lot of fun, so that could be a fun, really fun game. And there was 2 Famicom Detective Club games coming out, if you like the murder mystery style games, which were out on the Famicom way back when, but they never got American releases until now, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of different variation of what people are getting. There's a lot of different genres represented in this past Nintendo Direct. We're also getting a Legend of Mana re-release on the Nintendo Switch, along with other systems, but it's going to be really cool. I'd love to revisit that. They redid some of that game. It updated a bit, so that'll be really nice. Overall, I think the Nintendo Direct wasn't that bad. I think it was actually pretty good standalone Nintendo Direct. The issue, like I said, is that all the Zelda fans really expected and deserved more than what Nintendo's released. I mean, they might be deciding for PR that everybody's already hyped up about the Zelda stuff for the 35th anniversary. They might just be saving money on the PR, and they're going to release stuff later in the year or whatever after the Mario 35th ends in March. But I still really wish we got more than just that tiny bit. We're releasing Skyward Sword. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the game. I really enjoy the game, and I'll buy it. But for many people, they were expecting more, and understandably so. So I think that's where a lot of people really, really were unhappy with Nintendo's Direct, and Nintendo in general. I mean, especially that Sunday, you had the 35th anniversary, and you didn't even have anything, not even a little, talk about Nintendo. Nothing released. It was just radio silence, and that was kind of depressing. Nintendo let us down with that, but overall, a lot of good stuff being released in between this year and next year that'll keep people hopefully busy and entertained, especially with all the current world events. Little escapism doesn't hurt anybody here. But overall, I'm pretty excited about the games coming out in general on a multitude of systems, and looking forward to hearing more news from some of the rest of the companies coming up. I'll be doing more of these videos more frequently now. I'm going to start focusing a little bit more, so you'll hear more from me, which is awesome. But if you guys have any opinions on the games, which games you really hope to see more of, what games you're excited for, your thoughts on Nintendo Direct, your thoughts on individual games, or even the scalping issue, just go ahead and pop them down below, and I might just do a follow-up video on basically what people's ideas and thoughts were about the current gaming news. But y'all have an excellent one, and I'm going to sign off.